now.
We've got a who's who
Hey girl,
bankers
hey.
here. Hey girl, hey. Dr. Tai Houser's with us.
Woo woo.
Schaffer Zaret is here.
I'm so excited
Hello.
Schaffer's here. I'm so glad to be
Yeah,
here.
me too. And Dale Stine.
Hello,
Hey,
y'all.
Paul
Dale.
Thomas.
Paul.
From Miami Beach Pride. Big day. I'm getting ready. I don't know if I told you I'm getting ready. I'm not vaccinated. I'm getting ready to go down to Miami Jackson Hospital. And,
Oh, shade.
that was the shady comment.
To apply for a job?
Yeah, right.
You can push me on the gurney. And
Right, exactly. Now, you'll understand why in a moment here. Give us just a minute. Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
We've got a who's who
Hey, girl,
bankers
hey.
here. Hey girl, hey. Dr. Tai Houser's with us.
Woo woo.
Schaffer Zaret is here.
I'm so excited
Hello.
Schaffer's here. I'm so glad to be
Yeah,
here.
me too. And Dale Stine.
Hello,
Hey,
y'all.
Paul
Dale.
Thomas.
Paul.
From Miami Beach Pride. Big day. I'm getting ready. I don't know if I told you I'm getting ready. I'm not vaccinated. I'm getting ready to go down to Miami Jackson Hospital. And,
Shade.
that was the shady comment.
To apply for a job?
Yeah, right.
You can push me on the gurney. And
Right, exactly. Now, you'll understand why in a moment here. Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. Let's queer up breaking queer news. Shocking rejection of vaccines by Miami's Jackson Memorial Health professionals at Florida's largest hospital, as 75 out of 100 are not vaccinated. A shocking new report has revealed that the number of medical professionals that have been vaccinated at Florida's largest hospital, Miami's Jackson Memorial, is incredibly low. Jackson is one of Miami-Dade counties and one of Florida's largest employers, with more than 12,500 professionals. But a new reality has set in as the Delta variant is now the dominant coronavirus strain in America, and we have begun the fourth wave that moved the United States to the highest number of new cases last week of any country in the world. A new internal report yesterday shows the grim and shocking numbers of the vaccination levels of medical professionals at Florida's largest hospital. As expected, attending physicians at Jackson had the highest percentage of vaccinations, as 78 out of every 100 doctors are vaccinated, or 78.26%. Third-year residents had the highest vaccination rates of all, with 90 out of every 100 vaccinated, or 90.71%. The LGBTQ plus community, however, will be shocked to know that those that move you to surgeries, medical testing, and other transportation throughout the hospital had the lowest vaccination levels in Miami Jackson Hospital, as just 25 out of every 100 staff members are vaccinated, and that is just 25.25%. This means that 3 out of every 4 of these medical workers are not vaccinated, and they are less than half of even the national vaccination average. This medical field may be a reflection of workers that are dominated perhaps by people of color, Latino, and other minority populations that could reflect greater fear of the vaccine. The number of medical staff vaccinated are equally disappointing in all other categories, healthcare categories, from 36% at best to clinical nurses of 55% at best. 36% at worst, 55% at best. The management of Florida's largest hospital understands the dire results after 8 months of vaccination opportunities and seeing the incredible results of the vaccines, as they plead with medical staff by saying, quote, "Now is the time to protect yourself, your loved ones, our patients, and our community," end quote. Clearly, the message is not working. Carlos Magoya, the CEO of Jackson Health Systems, apparently knows why the numbers are so incredibly low by saying, quote, Jackson employees are no different than others in the streets. Everyone listens to rumors, and being in the healthcare business, they create more rumors, which is part of the reason why numbers are so low, end quote. Dr. Lillian Abbo with Jackson Health System says they may not be able to turn vaccination failures around. She said yesterday, quote, so this is real, and if you don't want to believe it, I may not be able to convince you, end quote. We are shocked to report these numbers of medical professionals that apparently refuse to be vaccinated.
So this is sheerly not practicing what you preach. This has me really, really upset. This is a failure in leadership, first of all, right? You should be educating your employees the same way we're trying to educate the public. You should be requiring them to get vaccines and providing ways for them to do it. And to make such inane comments, Magoya needs to resign. I mean, just failure of leadership, full stop.
Of leadership.
The really sad part is you cannot work in a hospital without being vaccinated. There are so many vaccines you have to keep your job. Mm-hmm. And it just happened in Texas last month where they let almost 200 people go.
Yeah, the largest hospital system in the United States.
So at this point, a month later after watching Texas, we shouldn't be at this point at Jackson. They should have been vaccinated by now.
And you know, this spreads out, of course, into the community at large, the non-medical community. I listen to right-wing radio or from time to time in the car, so I want to get annoyed, you know, and road rage. And just last night, I can't remember who I was listening to, it's irrelevant, but he was saying, you know, talking about the numbers of people in the medical field who are not getting vaccinated, and then went on to say, well, you know why they're not getting it? Because they know something we don't know. So they're perpetuating that myth and that conspiracy theory business.
And that quote from the doctor, that I may not be able to do anything, I may not be able to turn this around, that's just shocking for someone to really be in the medical field, to be resigned to the fact that this could go on, be prolonged, and we really might not be able to turn this around. That is really scary when we start to see those in the medical profession being impacted.
This is the question that we constantly go back to, Alan. I know that you bring it up all the time. Have we just said, we're done with this?
Yeah, we've given up.
And we haven't. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Well, people are dying.
People are dying, and you also need trained staff to take care of all these very sick people.
Yeah.
When people, 12 ICU ventilators is 12 separate nurses that know how to run an ICU ventilator. And if they get sick because they're not vaccinated, who's going to take care of them?
And it's the unvaccinated that are taking up those machines currently.
Right.
You know, I have a couple of notes. I was in Broward County Hospital in June. This never crossed my mind that this number of people around me. I went for 6 or 7 different tests. Each person that transported me, it never even crossed my mind that only 1 in 4 would have been vaccinated based on these results. That is scary and should be revealed to the patients.
Absolutely.
We're reporting on an internal document. This is not public information. They're generally talking about the public numbers of vaccination, but we're reporting a private memo of individual departments. And I think that's very unfair to the patients and people. Last week, they implemented a mask mandate and a no visitation policy at Jackson. Well, part of the reason perhaps is they're scared to death because so many of their own employees are not vaccinated coming into that hospital.
That's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. And then the other thing that I think is really challenging for us, and I'm just going to call it out, and I pre-apologize if somebody thinks that this is inappropriate for me to say it, but third years and doctors are as high as 90%.
Yeah.
They are the most scientific driven,
Yep.
They are the most educated, they are the most knowledgeable, and they are the ones that we should be listening to the closest.
Yes.
The people that are transporting people at Jackson Health Systems are the least educated, probably slightly above minimum wage, but certainly a dramatically different education and compensation level than the top end of the science at Miami Jackson. You can't have both of those living in the same system. They both cannot live and survive and thrive in the same petri dish. So to the point of forcing your point, Jackson Health and Magoya has an obligation
Absolutely.
to make sure that those medical transports are being vaccinated at the same levels of the highest of the science in your hospital, the largest in Florida, which is your third years and your doctors. Yeah. This is a disgraceful report in every possible way.
Absolutely.
And how can we expect things to return when our own medical professionals are failing us?
Well, it's not the medical professional, right? When we talk about equity, and we talk about access to information, and we talk about access to education, this is where the whole community gets affected by not making sure that those things are happening.
Yeah.
Those people that are transporting, you pointed out, may be less educated, but they also have less opportunities for education. They also come from communities where that may not be a priority when they're just trying to survive. And this is why when we talk about equity, this is a perfect example of why it's so important, because guess what? By disenfranchising that person, it's affecting all of us.
Yes,
right?
all
We
of
have to realize that we all live in this world together. We talk a lot about intersectionality,
Excellent point.
but we don't live a lot of intersectionality.
Yeah, right.
And so the focus really needs to be on that,
Yes.
so that people are making informed
Yeah.
decisions, but we have to empower them.
Yeah.
We can't just blame them.
If I wasn't clear in this internal report of what's going on at Jackson, the largest hospital system in Florida, the failure is not at the bottom. The failure is at the top.
Absolutely.
That's where the failure is.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to do an expanded report on this tomorrow, so stay tuned and keep with us on it. It is 8 p.m. Thursday, July 29th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show. Literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We're part of the Happening Out television network, Hotspots Magazine, and WeMeg Events. Hotspots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ+ experience. Merged, we bring you the best of LGBTQ+ news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ+ community.
This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. First up, let's welcome anchor Schaffer Zaret. She is a trans activist, panel speaker, and director of development of Pride Lines, South Florida's oldest direct services nonprofit organization for LGBTQ+ youth. Her values are based on service to her community in project management and coalition building. Welcome, Schaffer.
Hey, thanks. Great to be here. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Tai.
Hi, Schaffer. It's great to be here with you. Let's welcome anchor Paul Thomas. He is currently the chairman of the LGBTQ Advisory Committee to the City of Miami Beach, a board member of Miami Beach Pride, a board of trustee member of the Point Foundation, and on the endorsement committee for SAVE. He has over 30 years of experience in the healthcare and education fields, specializing in AIDS, HIV treatment, as well as an activist advocate for marginalized communities. Locally, he works with many of our nonprofit and FQHCs, providing a wide range of services. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Tai. Good to see you again. And let's welcome anchor Dale Stine. He received a master's degree from world-famous Juilliard School. He's a well-known photographer and has been featured in innumerable magazine covers, feature spreads, CD record covers, and websites. And Dale is also famous for his photographs for internationally acclaimed DJs, producers, drag personas, politicos, business people, and entertainers. He is currently the Director of Music Ministry at Unity on the Bay, a moderator of South Florida's largest LGBTQ plus Facebook group, Miami Gay List. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you, Paul. Great to be here, everyone. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, July 29th.
Next, let's queer up entertainment. DaBaby releases grotesque AIDS song just days after inexcusable homophobic rant. DaBaby has received massive backlash after he made comments Sunday about, quote, sucking
Dick.
yes, in the parking lot, and people living with HIV claiming they, quote, die in two to 3 weeks, end quote. DaBaby issued a limp apology on Twitter for his insensitive comments about people living with HIV, but shied away from actually saying sorry to the LGBTQ plus community. But the so-called apology seems to have been short-lived, as DaBaby has released a new song that references the backlash for his controversial comments. The rapper touched on the remarks in a self-directed video for his single, Giving What It's Supposed to Give. Midway through the video, the rapper holds up a sign saying, AIDS. As the sign appears on the screen, DaBaby can be heard rapping, quote,
Bitch.
bitch, we like AIDS. I'm on your ass. We won't go away, end quote. The video ends with the message, quote, don't fight hate with hate, end quote, in rainbow lettering. It concluded with a message stating, quote, my apologies for being me, the same way you want the freedom to be you, end quote.
You know, just for clarity on what's going on here, when he was at the Loud Festival over the weekend at Hard Rock Stadium, he asked everybody to hold up their phones with flashlights if you didn't have HIV and AIDS and you weren't out in the parking lot sucking dick.
Yes.
That's what kicked this off.
Yes.
And he has just had a wall fall on him for doing it, because first off, and we talked about this when we first reported it, a very significant percentage of people that contract HIV are black women. That it has nothing to do with homosexuality today. It started that way, but that's 35 years ago. DaBaby, read and you would be a bit more educated.
And certainly not even that, to say 2 to 3 weeks to try to make something, 2 to 3 weeks what? In what year?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really concerned that some of these rappers, I'm not very well versed in the rap world, but it seems like they do these things to get headlines. And the fact that he would use something as horrific as AIDS
horrific.
just to get free press, because that's what he's getting now, really makes it even worse.
Yeah, it was not unintentional to drop that the night before the release of the song. I watched it and I don't even know what he's saying. Am I just too white?
You're definitely too white. I say that even before this story. I would have said you're too white.
You know, it was honestly disgraceful. We talked about this in our morning meeting at work, and I work with many members of the community, black, white, Asian. This is something that we all touched on as far as the stigma that we're combating in the community every day, as far as HIV testing and knowing your status. U equals U, undetectable equals untransmissible. This sets back in our community, and just communities in general that maybe aren't exposed to all the facts, in a disgusting way, access to HIV care, access to PrEP, access to resources, and it continues a narrative in the rap community and just the ignorant community in general that I think is extremely problematic, and it cuts at the work that we're all doing to end the stigma and get people tested, and it's disgusting.
You know, and just one final thought. How many times over the last 5 years, I wonder to myself, how many times I've said, he seems to protest too much.
Yes,
I was just
exactly.
Why this over and over and over again. DaBaby, if you're fighting whatever it is that you're fighting, stop fighting it.
Well, now we're going to queer up gay culture. Leo Maki joins Boys, Boys, Boys with revealing new exhibit. Polish photographer and videographer Leo Maki has joined the Little Black Gallery's Boys, Boys, Boys platform with images from his long-term series Guys and Stuff about queerness, freedom, and the perception of masculinity. Maki said, quote, "I see my work as the record of a meeting. All I care about is creating the atmosphere in which me and my models feel free to express ourselves without any boundaries and tension. I want to capture the people I work with as I perceive them, to capture emotions and the feelings of the moment," end quote. For more information, visit boysboysboys.org.
Dale, I want to jump right in. You have long
You jump before I
experience. Right, I want to jump before you jump. You have long experience in photography. We do many stories at Queer News
Yes.
Tonight about photographers all over the world because we want to bring it to
And I think that's wonderful you
LGBTQ
do that.
community attention. When you see a story like this, what's your reaction of how it washes over you?
Well, I look at the work and just get the feeling of the work, and what he's quoted as saying is exactly what he achieves. The work is provocative, evocative, sensual. It feels very extemporaneous. It feels very in the moment. And it's just beautiful to see because it feels unrehearsed, even though when one is doing photography, there's a lot of setup and creation of the moment to make it feel like it's happening now. So it feels very real to me and authentic.
10 adjectives that normally you never hear about gay photography. I love that. Honestly, I do. Because we're more than Grindr and Grindr pictures and adult films. Nothing wrong with any of that.
It's interesting that they're so sexual, and yet the sexuality does not come across to me as the most important thing at all.
Yes, exactly
it's actually very low on there.
Yeah.
It's the vulnerability that
Until
sparks me the most.
you yell, boys, boys, boys.
Right.
I don't mean to undercut that excellent academic analysis, but I was just interested in the butts.
That's hot.
All right, well, so Paul, we're going to move on to some culture issues.
Okay, let's queer up some gay culture. How the limp wrist and kiss me more became an internet phenomenon. The information age has brought us fast news, entertainment, and of course, memes. A meme craze was recently spawned as a bunch of young Gen Zers danced at an 18+ dance party. During Doja Cat and Ja's song, Kiss Me More, a small bell rings. The teens raised their arms in unison and made a motion as if they were ringing the bell. This brought to mind to many the old gay limp wrist stereotype, and now LGBTQ plus Reddit and TikTok have gone crazy using the song and the limp wrist motion when discussing how they tell people they are gay.
That's great.
Not since The Simpsons in 1997, when Homer exclaimed that he liked, quote, "my beer cold, my MTV loud, and my homosexuals flaming," end quote. Has the limp wrist motion been so popular?
It's so cute. I love it. I saw this on TikTok, that Doja Cat and SZA song, and it gives this nod to just a fun and cheeky way, that whole like, are you, aren't you, kind of reclaiming the limp wrist as something that is both culturally relevant now and modernized in a way that I actually never thought in my lifetime that I would see.
Yeah.
I always saw it as something that was kind of offensive, and to see it used in such a mainstream way, it actually gives me hope that we can...
It's like reclaiming the word queer.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Taking it back and making it something positive for us.
It's how Al has maintained cultural relevance, because he's never gotten rid of the limp wrist.
That's why we have to keep our hands under the table.
Yeah, that's
Only reason.
oh my goodness. It's funny to me, all joking aside, and you're not very funny. It's interesting to me because in January of 2021, we started this news program. It was revolutionary because it was the first daily live LGBTQ news show. Many of us, right from the beginning, wanted to launch with Queer News Tonight. Ultimately, we did not, and we launched with Q News Tonight. And the reason Q was selected over queer, and of course you knew what the Q meant, but it was perceived as being more acceptable. And I think it's interesting. It was not until this little organization came along called QAnon
Right.
that we realized, no, we're throwing Q away forever. and became Queer News Tonight. It's the same thing here. As I watch this, and I've watched several of the videos of this, I think it's interesting because it's Gen Zers doing it. And Gen Zers going, what the hell are you talking about? We don't, queer versus Q? Why are you wasting your time on that? And the same thing here. It's interesting, gay guys, cis gay guys of our age, probably would reject this more, certainly more, than Gen Zers, because Gen Zers are going, ugh, we don't reject it. Well, I bet there's a lot of older gay guys that would go, don't make fun, that would take offense at Limp because they think back into the 70s and 80s. This was a terrible slur. And Gen Zers today are going, ugh, we're taking this, we own this, and we don't care what you think. And that's a reflection of the change that we're seeing.
I do hope that if it's in a video like that and other people are saying it, maybe it'll bring people to watch Queer News Tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll start to open some doors for people who feel like, well, I'm not queer, so I'm not going to watch the news show.
Yeah.
That give them permission to watch.
Well, we got you, and you're not queer, so.
Right.
Oh, wait.
Oh, dear. Have you seen his wrist? Okay, next, let's queer up politics. Now, for something completely
different.
That was a read, Paul. For something completely different, Marjorie Taylor Greene, insert puke emoji, runs away from critics and then whines about free speech. Watch this.
We will not back down. We will not stop asking questions. We are looking for the truth. And we believe the truth can be found by reaching out and answering and asking the right questions to the right people. Listen, there's another thing. The taxpayers of this country pay all of these people's salaries, and they owe the people of this country the answers to the questions.
We need a break. We need it.
Okay.
The left is interrupting the press conference. We need to end it.
Yeah. Thank you. For those of you that really care about due process, thank you.
Republican Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz fled their own press conference after it slipped into chaos as protesters strong-armed in. On Tuesday, the pair joined the rest of the so-called Sedition Caucus, a bloc of lawmakers who voted against the certification of Joe Biden's victory, for a press conference outside the Justice Department as a committee inquiry into the Capitol riots began inside. Representatives Greene, Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Paul Gosar, Andy Biggs, and Bob Good demanded answers over the fate of those arrested in connection to the riots, taking aim at Attorney General Merrick Garland. But when protesters armed with whistles and signs met the Trump sycophants, they were quick to cry, "The left!" and shut down the conference.
And boy, did they ever shut it down. They scurried away like rats. I mean,
running.
Snowflakes.
They can't handle the heat.
If all it takes is a whistle and a placard, I'm going to start shutting things down.
They couldn't find anywhere to speak in the whole state of California. I don't know why they thought they were going to be able to have this little press conference anyway.
These people are just disgusting. I mean, they are just disgusting human beings, and we need to see less of them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, one place that they do get to speak a lot, Florida.
You had
the only place
on pens and needles with that one. All right. Yeah.
And that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6th, 2020.
Tonight, we report that as of today, more than 2,484,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 43,000 LGBTQ plus Americans who have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 343 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
And that is our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership.
Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Watch this.
Hi, my name is Lexi Goza of Lexi Goza State Farm Insurance in Midtown, Miami, Florida. I'm also a board member of the Aqua Foundation for Women and the chair of the Women's Empowerment Council for the Miami-Dade Gay and Lesbian Chamber. And Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ+ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, now we're going to finish tonight's queer news headlines with what we call LGBTQ+ flash news. LGBTQ+ flash news. South Florida Gay News cover story. Miami City Ballet offers a new season of Sunshine in Motion. South Florida Gay News, one of South Florida's most important LGBTQ+ news sources, brings this special report, Sunshine in Motion. That is the theme of Miami City Ballet, and they're finally returning to the stages in Miami, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties following the COVID-19 pandemic. MCB will open its 36th season on October 14th with the online premiere of A Midsummer Night's Dream by George Balanchine, a classic ballet reimagined in a dreamy underwater landscape and featuring sets and costumes by famed environmental artist Michelle Oka-Donor. The program will be available on demand through October 31st. Find out complete details of Miami City Ballet's schedule and what to expect in this week's SFGN, which is on stands now.
I just want to be being held like that with the tropical lush background. That's beautiful.
I'm looking for any reason to put on my dance belt, so I'm glad they're back.
Oh, wow. I'm very happy for all the dancers who've had this last year and a half plus of not being able to shine for an audience.
Yeah, is there any better way to come out of the end of a pandemic than with some fantastic art and culture and dance and something to take you away from all this reality?
Agreed. I love what South Florida Gay News is doing in dedicating space to the Miami City Ballet, because nobody's been hurt more than our professional artists and our drag queens.
Yes. LGBTQ+ flash headline, flash news. Closeted Olympic athletes are being outed by TikTokers using Grindr. A number of users on TikTok and Twitter have exploited Grindr's Explore feature to zoom in on the Olympic Village in Tokyo and expose the profiles of queer athletes competing in the Summer Olympics, including at least one athlete from a country where same-sex relations are illegal. Twitter and Grindr issued statements saying the posts violated their rules of conduct, and while TikTok has failed to respond to requests for comment, the popular short-form video sharing platform has apparently removed the offending videos.
So what was the tool again, and how do I use it?
Well, I often say this is just another reason why people who can come out, in my opinion, should come out, so that outing is not a thing.
Harmful.
Although it's so harmful to people in the countries where it's hurting, that's the bad thing.
Well, this is going to be technology moving forward, right? It has its pluses, but then it always has that little danger factor to it.
I don't know if you know this, Paul, but I have you on my phone. I know where you are 24 hours. One word that I hate in social media is troll. And when I saw this story, you would apply the worst meaning of troll to this story. You have to sleep with yourself at night. And the people that were doing this, I don't understand how they sleep with themselves.
And it really makes me feel like they were caught off guard and violated. And it really goes to show you again, you're putting your trust in these apps, and sometimes it's going to kick you in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Or other places.
Or other places.
LGBTQ plus flash news. Megyn Kelly calls queer people lunatics, urges followers to quit laughing and fight this nonsense. Megyn Kelly is once again attacking queer people on her Twitter page, calling them lunatics and urging her followers to fight this nonsense. The failed TV morning news host retweeted an article published by the conservative media outlet Hot Air about how medical schools have begun denying biological sex and how faculty are being policed and how wokeness has become an existential threat, big words, to medicine, and on and on. Earlier this month, Kelly told Business Insider that she left NBC in 2018 because it simply wasn't intellectually stimulating enough for her, and not because the network fired her for making racist remarks in support of blackface. We'd like to quote Family Guy here and say, "Shut up, Meg."
Yeah, she is the epitome of what needs to be canceled most. And I'm so glad to see that not that I watched the show, I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did with Whoopi, that's for sure.
All I keep thinking of is, they say when you point your finger, 3 are pointing back at you, and I'm thinking lunatic, lunatic, lunatic.
Yeah. The sad thing is these ultra writers, some of them can be very smart, and Megyn Kelly is one of them. The old adage applies here: know thy enemy. You have just seen her.
And honestly, Al, thank you for summing up my sentence, because I'd want to say so much, and clearly I just can't fit it into one sentence.
You're a good Christian girl.
I am.
Well, clearly her claims are baseless, but it's scary because it has led to things like Florida passing laws that are invading universities and intellectual freedom.
Yeah.
And that is the scary thing.
Yeah.
Very scary.
Enemy.
Yes. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and your friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Schaffer Zaret, Dr. Tai Houser,
Pew pew!
Paul Thomas, and Dale Stine. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.